Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. Before I get into this video, I'd like to ask you all to please leave a like or comment on my video and consider subscribing to my channel. Now today is going to be a defensive strategy video. Now this defensive strategy only works for large alliances. 1,000+ members will be easy to carry out this activity, smaller numbers will not be able to. And one of the things you can do if you have a large enough alliance, let's say for example you have 4 to 5,000 allied members altogether, is you could actually blockade a system to ensure that you can pull off what I'm about to talk about. And what I'm about to talk about is setting up an impenetrable defense on one of your gates. Now, when I say impenetrable defense, I don't mean that it's 100% defense, you can't get out of it, so forth like that. No, I'm saying setting up capsule outposts around a gate. Now, I do know that you can set them up next to a gate because I've seen someone say they've deployed it there, but it got destroyed very fast by enemy faction when they came through. Now, if you are going for this here, there is a way to make sure that your capsule outpost doesn't get destroyed instantly, and that if they do try anything, you can instantly protect it. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to need 6 capsule outposts. Now that's 60 billion ISK. For big corps and heavy PvP factions, that's a drop in the pond. If you're going to do this here, it beats gate camping any day. You don't even take a risk with your ship. You just pull out something to pick up wreckages once every hour. And that's going to be it. You're just going to go in, pick up all the wreckages, dump it in your stations, because you have 6 stations right next door, and you don't really have to risk a ship. And you also have a permanent defense on your route in and out of your system. Now, this is if you want to secure your system totally so that you can get ready and advance out in war. So this is the exact method to doing it. You deploy 6 with the maximum timer difference being set between each one. And if I am correct, let's see, it's up here on the totals. No, it's not on this section. But there is a warning on how many minutes you need for each defense with the capsule outposts. And oh, here's it. Launch process. Preparation, vulnerable for 15 minutes. Anchoring state, vulnerable for 24 hours. Repair state, vulnerable for 15 minutes. So these are all the amount of times you have to defend it for, with the maximum being 24 hours. So you're going to set up one station 24 hours apart around the gate, and that's going to be 6 stations to make an unbreakable defense on one-way entrance. Obviously, you have to have a sector which only is a one-way in. There mustn't be a curve around or a cut around to get around it. Example, WDVTV. If you set up this on that particular gate, there is no way directly around it if you're coming in through catch. The only thing that you could do is go around through Delve or go around through Quarius and come in through the back. And all they've got to do, let's say for example, CNK, we want to block out 1 or 2 of the other corpses, set up one of these rings around each of the gates leading into the areas. That means that we won't have enemy battleships, battle cruisers, and we won't get faction ships coming into our area that can actually take us on. We'll have an easier fight. It just means we have to mount a massive defense for a few hours. And when I say for a few hours, I mean once the second station goes online, that gate is impenetrable already. And let me just show you exactly why I say it's impenetrable. Going to this weapon over here. This weapon's damage is so huge that if you actually go and mess around with it, as you can see, 214 DPS per second, its single impact is so huge that it will literally cave in most ships. And if it catches a faction cruiser or faction ship, it will damage more than half of its shield and armor with a single hit. And considering that this is just one weapon, 2 of them most probably would take out a single ship. And if you're going on further, 2 of them already defending a third one, it's going to make it a very hard to break defense. And all you've got to do is keep a few ships in the area to keep up the defense. Once the third is up, it's even more difficult. They'd have to run massive fleets into that little area and risk losing massive numbers to destroy one station. And when I say risk losing massive numbers, I mean they're going to have to risk full faction fleets of 300 to 400 players just to get through those 3 stations. And when it comes to the next one and the next one, once the 4th one goes on, the defense is even more intense. It's going to cost them 2 to 300 faction cruisers. By that time, I'm expecting battle cruisers to be in. That might take about 100 or 200 to break this type of a defense. But nonetheless, it can only do 2,000 damage at a time to a station. And with all of this being said, the moment it comes in, it's going to get hit and you're going to lose these big ships. Plus, you can't warp away, and the only defense you have is to get back to the gate. And the fact that you are moving away from the gate is what's hurting you 90% of the time. And if you try to get into the sector to make a new rally point to get back on the stations, all you've got to do is face all your station docks towards the gate entrance. That will force you to have a massive kill box. And considering 6 stations at, let's see, at 3,600 damage rate, no, it's more close to 900 damage apiece. So, 3,700 damage apiece per missile, and that's 2 per station. That's 7,600 damage per hit from each of those 6 stations, and put them all together times 6, you in the 40,000s in damage. That's an instant kill to a battle cruiser at current. That's a 2-shot hit to any let's see, battle cruisers are 2-shot hits. The battleships are the battleships are 2-shot kills. Anything bigger will still struggle to go in there. There's no MOA Guardian wall that will protect you against those 6. And once you have it set up, you don't even have to defend the gate anymore. You just warp away. If they want to come into your territory, they have to face off against all of your stations all at once. And once this year is over, there is no way for them to actually get in and hit it without actually deploying something heavy to counter it. If they decide to deploy a station in that same spot to hold the fire, all you've got to do is deploy a team to go and take out their station and take out their camps. And if you want to, you can actually set your stations to attack only player ships instead of any other thing. So you can hit ships, you can hit battleships, cruisers. You can even give it a priority list if I am correct. I'm not 100% sure on the priority list for attacking. It might be incorrect for me to say it. I'm not sure whether that's just the filter list that I keep on my menu to filter out enemies, but you could do that there as well. You could filter it out as in battle cruisers, and you can make it go down in decreasing order so that you can take out armies quickly. Now, the stations alone don't mean that it is 100% impenetrable. I did say there's ways around it, and I won't elaborate on the ways around it as yet. But once someone does try this year to set up 6 stations around a gate, you could always go the extra mile and put in an additional wall of defense on the back, like another 4 or 5 stations to make a half cap around the gate. So basically, there's one way into the gate, and there's a massive death wall of absolute firepower. Once your 6 are up, you can just keep adding more stations to it, because anybody who tries to hit your station is going to have to go through 6 other stations just to get to those 1 or 2 stations that are still sitting there. And anchoring allows you to choose your point where you're going to set your station once and for all. And that's just about it. So once all of your station components are up and everything is firing and working correctly, you have a massive defense. Now, I know that sanctuary guns and defensive turrets and so forth are going to be added within the sovereignty pack, but this is just a little bit of a fun thing to try right now before it comes out. Now, even within sovereignty, they may delay the addition of those defensive systems till maybe a month or 2 into the game, and it may have a limit to how many can be deployed near a gate. So this still could be a viable system. Deploying the sanctuary guns around your stations, because your stations get the allowance of sanctuary guns, plus your gates get an allowance, could allow you to actually make a massive defensive wall. Something that could take out even the further development of ships that may come after battleships. And we're not exactly sure whether they're going to introduce things like Titans or destroyer class, let's see, planetary destroyer class ships. If they do introduce such things, it's going to mean that that whole meta will go towards that point. Now, with all of this being said, I know that this is quite an elaborate plan, and it is a very, very expensive plan. Even I myself am thinking of trying to do something crazy like this, but I can't just do it on the willy-nilly. I have to make sure that I do my homework and get everything ready. And if I decide to do something this crazy with the gate, I need the permission from the entire alliance and its coalition. Because obviously, once you set it up, you know that if you've made this defense for one team, they're going to be untouchable in their home turf, and it will take you a massive number of losses and a very, very powerful fleet just to get some numbers inside to fight them. And it will allow players to basically mine non-stop in a null sec, like if it's a high sec area, because the defense will be that heavy on the outside that getting inside and building up your ships is the only way to do it. You'd have to be existing within their territory already, and you'd have to be buying from your enemy and building up inside. And getting other players in is going to be an even more difficult situation, because they're going to have to covert ops into the area one at a time, build up in the formal stations, and then try and mount exit from that formal station. If anybody does try this here, all you've got to do is blockade those formal stations up with the exact same tactic, and it's an impenetrable wall. They can get into the formal station and attack you, but once they do that, they can only hold that one sector in that entire space, because you hold everything else around it. And you can go out and reform and rebuild in one of the capsule outposts that you've set up. And as things get more and more advanced, you'll have more and more advanced weapons to hold on to these types of defenses. So that's just my suggestion on the ultimate defense for this point in the game. It may not be 100% effective. There is a big possibility. It might be 50% effective. It might be even more better than I'm elaborating on it, but you will only know by actually setting up the systems. So I hope that you all do try this out, and thank you all for watching.